Here's one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I first got started out owning and running my business. For reference, I've been running a restaurant business for the past year. One of the mistakes that I fell into, that a lot of other business owners fall into, is being so preoccupied in working in the business, doing the day-to-day tasks of actually fulfilling the service that you're providing, you forget to work on the business. And you'll hear people talk about this a lot. What that meant for me was that I was so focused on being here at the restaurant every single day for every shift and actually working alongside my staff, I felt like I didn't have the time to actually work on the things that would drive and grow the business and push it forward. I would be personally taking orders from customers, I'd be serving them, I'd be washing the dishes, I would be even jumping in the back to actually cook some of the food. I knew that I needed to build systems, to create good training programs, to hire the right people, to leverage social media, and actually do the things that would bring customers in through the door. But I was so burnt out all the time from actually being here, I felt like I couldn't do those things. I think as a business owner, you should be familiar with how the day-to-day runnings of the business go. Not only does it give you an understanding of how to best serve your customer, I think it also makes you more empathetic towards your staff, because you'll actually understand what are some of the challenges that they'll face. However, if you want to scale the business and free up your time, you need to be able to step back, take a look at the business as a whole from a bird's eye perspective almost, so that you can see what's working and what's not working and where the opportunities are for you to actually improve. I've not figured this out myself completely just yet, and it's something I'm continuously working on. But over the last, I'd say 1 or 2 months, I've been trying to do this a lot more, and already I've noticed a difference. It has freed up a lot more time for me to do things like this and to actually focus on bringing in more customers. I wanted to share with you what I did to be able to free up some of my time so that I could focus more on things that really matter. So step 1, I want you to write down every single task that you do within your business over the course of a week. So not just over the course of one day, because sometimes your day will vary, what you actually have to do on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes it's different on one day than it is on another. So over the course of a week, I want you to write down every single task, no matter how small, so that you'll start to see patterns and what the things that you do on a regular basis. Next, I want you to rank these in order of how important they are and how urgent they are. So for this, you can use something called a task priority matrix, which essentially categorizes tasks into 4 distinct categories. You've got tasks which are important but they're not urgent. You've got tasks which are important and urgent. You've got tasks which are not urgent, not important, and you've got tasks which need to be done quickly, so they're urgent but they're not that important. The highest priority tasks should be ones that are important and they're urgent, and the ones at the bottom of your list should be the ones that are not important nor are they urgent. Once you've done this, the next thing that I did and that I want you to do is, next to each of those tasks that you've written down, write down which ones have to be done by you and which could potentially be done by somebody else. This might take, a couple of hours or whatever it is. It might take a little bit of time, but take your time. So now you should have a list of all your tasks that you do for the week, and you should have ranked them in order of essentially importance. And you should also have next to them which ones have to be done by you and which ones that you're going to look to delegate to somebody else. Take just one of those tasks. I would say take the highest priority task that can be done by somebody else, and that is the task that you're going to delegate over the course of a week or 2. Don't focus on any of the other ones, just focus on one. What you need to do is you need to write down the exact step-by-step process on how to complete that task. This is called an SOP, or a standard operating procedure. By writing the process down of how to actually do this, you can have it so that you can give it to anyone and they'll be able to follow it. So when explaining these steps and writing it down, you want to make it as easy as possible to follow. Almost as if you want to be able to explain it to a 5-year-old. This takes a little bit of brain power. You do have to sit down and really think about it, but it's well worth it in the end. Next, you need to give this SOP an owner, so someone who is actually going to carry out the task. Next, what you want to do is, by name, mention who is going to carry out the task. And you also want to, by name, write down who is going to check that that task is being done correctly. Most likely, the person doing the task is obviously going to be one of your staff members or a partner or someone who works with you, and you're going to be the one who's actually checking that that task is done correctly. You then need to take that member of staff, pull them to the side, and explain to them why you're doing this. It's really important that you speak to your staff member on the same level. You know, if you're coming from a position of authority and you're kind of talking down to them, it doesn't quite work. That's what I found in my situation. You have to speak on the same level. So you need to explain to them, look, I need to focus more on X, Y, and Z, and I need your support. When you frame it that way, you're more likely, in my opinion, in my experience, to get someone, willing to actually carry out the task that you're asking them. Once they understand, once you've, stepped through it, step by step, maybe even go and demo, the task to them, show them what you expect, show them how to carry out those tasks and show them the end result. Once they understand, it's really important, you need to trust your staff. You need to trust the person who's going to carry out that task. If you're constantly micromanaging them, if you're constantly finding faults in the way they do things, it won't last. The best thing that you can do is observe them quietly. And the main thing is record the final results. If they're not following the procedure exactly to plan, but the end result is consistently what you expect, then they may have found a better way, right? And as a business owner, you need to be comfortable with that idea. At the end of the day, that person is going to be doing that task day in, day. So if they found a way that they can do it better than how you've written it down, that's fine. You can change that, the procedure to fit how they're doing it. The main thing is that they're providing consistent results. Once that person has now built up that habit of carrying out that task and they're getting consistently good results, it's really important that you don't just completely fall off and never check things. You still have to make sure that you're inspecting the work and that you're making sure that if errors or if there's any inconsistencies, that you note them down and you try and figure out why. And if it's something that happens over and over, then obviously you need to come back and maybe you need to rework the actual SOP itself. Maybe the process that you've written down isn't quite good enough and you need to change it. And you also need to make sure that you're reinforcing those good habits. So when those tasks are being done correctly, say so. Pull that person to the side and say, look, you've been doing really good work, carry on. Give them a little tip, give them some form of incentive, but you need to constantly be reinforcing those kind of habits. Then you just need to give it some time. So give it a week, give it 2 weeks. This is not a quick fix. It might take a couple of weeks, for things to settle in, but some progress is better than no progress. And that's it. So what you've now done is you've taken a task that is important and that could be done by somebody else, and you've now lifted that burden off yourself and put it onto one of your workers. Now, in order to free up more time, you just repeat the whole process for another task. This is what I'm currently doing. It is tough work, to be fair, but I'm already seeing the result. I feel like I have a bit more time to do the things that I really need to do. So give this a try in your business, see how it goes. If you found this video helpful, I hope you could take away something from this video. Like I said, this is something that I've been doing and I've seen results, so hopefully you can also see similar results or even better. If you got something from this video, then please drop us a like and follow for more. I'll see you on the next one.